Welcome to our podcast. Today we are discussing a fascinating article on the evolution of industrial underwater operations in Italy, from the birth of underwater technical operators, or OTS, to the significant Sicilian law. Eloise, the article notes that everything began with a 1979 decree that simply replaced the word palambaro with diver. What was the initial context and the scope of this early regulation?
That is right, Noah. The ministerial decree of January 13, 1979, from the then Ministry of Merchant Marine, created the category of divers in local service. Articles 1 and 2 of this decree specified that these operators were exclusively responsible for port services. They could only operate within their port of registration or its immediate vicinity, with temporary work in other ports requiring prior authorization. It was a very narrow scope, strictly focused on port activities.
So a highly localized regulation initially. However, the article indicates that this decree underwent integrations and modifications quite rapidly. Could you outline the most significant changes that occurred in the early 1980s?
Certainly. In 1981, an integrative decree extended registration eligibility not only to Italian citizens, but also to citizens of other member states of the European Economic Community. The most crucial modification, though, came with the ministerial decree of February 2, 1982. This decree replaced diver with underwater technical operator, or OTS. For the first time, it mandated possession of a diploma as a technical expert in underwater work or a professional qualification certificate for OTS, along with a patent. This truly marked a step towards greater professional formalization.
The shift from a mere term substitution to requiring a specific qualification is notable. Yet the article suggests that despite these decrees, the regulatory framework remained incomplete, leading to non-legislative adjustments. What were these adjustments, and did the Costa Concordia incident play a role in this evolving landscape?
It did. Several non-legislative initiatives emerged to fill the gaps. For example, in 2006, a decision by the Lazio Regional Administrative Court abolished the maximum age limit of 35 years for OTS. In 2012, a document from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport granted non-EU citizens regularly residing in Italy the right to registration and the recognition booklet. The Costa Concordia incident of 2012, however, truly highlighted a significant limitation. The Livorno Port Authority, responding to complaints from OTS not hired for the wreck recovery, clarified that the 1979 decree only applied to activities within ports. The Concordia wreck, being outside the port area, did not fall under that regulation, revealing a clear distinction between inshore and offshore diving that Italian legislation had not adequately addressed.
That incident exposed a critical regulatory gap for offshore operations. This leads us to how major companies in the sector began developing their own guidelines. The article references documents from ENI Saipem that outline different levels of diving. Can you elaborate on these industry standards and how they compared to the existing regulations?
ENI Saipem, starting in 2003 with subsequent revisions, defined 3 distinct diving levels: up to 30 meters with a compressed air diving station, between 30 and 50 meters requiring an open bell or a basket for descent and ascent, and beyond 50 meters, which necessitated a deep water installation with a decompression chamber and an interconnected hyperbaric bell. These standards were not mandated by national law, but rather by complex operational needs and alignment with international regulations like IMCA D023 and D024, as well as the Italian Naval Register's regulations for underwater work in Italy. Even ENL, in a 2014 document, referred to IDSA, the International Diving Schools Association, standards.
So while the legislation lagged, the industry proactively looked to international standards. The article mentions a 2014 bill aimed at harmonizing these diverse needs. What did this bill propose, and what international standards did it seek to recognize?
Bill 2751, presented in 2014 by Honorable Deborah Bergamini, was a crucial attempt to regulate subaquatic and hyperbaric activities. It explicitly recognized 3 core pillars for training and operations in the offshore sector: the IDSA training standards, which are the only international educational association for industrial subaquatic activities; the IMCA operational standards, which also incorporated UNI 11366 safety regulations; and the Health and Safety Executive, or HSE, safety standards from the United Kingdom. The bill's objective was to ensure greater international recognition of Italian diver qualifications, also suggesting a division of the divers' register into different categories based on training and skills, mirroring practices globally.
This clearly indicates an awareness of the need for global standards. However, vocational training in Italy is a regional competence, which can introduce complexity. How did this Italian specificity complicate efforts to modernize the sector?
This has been a significant hurdle. Each Italian region possesses autonomy in defining its vocational training policies and strategies, adapting them to its own territorial needs. This means only regions can define normed training paths, those supported by specific legislation, or non-normed ones. This fragmentation has made it exceptionally difficult to implement a single, unified national standard for industrial subaquatic activities.
And yet, the article concludes with a success story, that of the Sicilian region. What did Sicily achieve that neither other regions nor the central government had managed in this sector?
The Sicilian region, with its regional law of April 21, 2016, was the first in Italy to establish precise rules and specific training paths for industrial subaquatic activities, encompassing both inshore and offshore, and covering both shallow and deep waters. It synthesized and harmonized existing national and international standards, even securing approval from the Council's ministers. This law was subsequently published in the Official Gazette of the Italian Republic, granting it significant validity and national recognition. In 2019, the implementing decree signed by Honorable Musumeci was also published, which regulates the normed training paths in this sector, aligning with IDSA standards. It truly represents a fundamental advancement for industrial subaquatic activities in Italy.
A genuine regulatory achievement for such a specialized sector. Eloise, it's been a lengthy and intricate journey, from a simple term substitution to a regional law that finally integrates international standards. Thank you for guiding us through this analysis. In our next episode, we will delve deeper into this very important law of the Sicilian region, its implementing decree, and its broader implications.
Thank you, Noah.